Hi, I'm Jeff from New York. Please like and subscribe.
Young Billionaire, Season 2, Episode 5, Meeting the Cortez Family.
How should I know where your worthless grandson is?
Becca joked with Felisa. She knew that her grandmother didn't love Noah as much as their cousin Elisa, who'd been successful in the family business. No one dared to make fun of her.
Grandmother, haven't you noticed that I've brought someone with me?
She asked. Felisa looked at the handsome young man standing behind Becca.
This is my boyfriend Blake.
Becca said, holding his arm as she smiled at him.
His family owns an internet company that is ranked as one of the top 20 in the industry.
Nice to meet you, grandmother.
Blake said as he smiled and extended his hand to her, looking like a perfect gentleman.
Hello.
Felisa said, shaking his hand as she scanned him with her sharp eyes. He did look like a rich kid. She briefly asked Blake questions and he answered them all appropriately, which impressed her.
My granddaughter is a little naughty.
She said, smiling at him.
Although she's almost 20, she still acts like a high school student.
Don't worry, I like her personality.
He said, glancing lovingly at Becca.
And we're quite compatible.
As everyone watched this exchange, they were envious. This was the first time Felisa had met Blake, and she was treating him with courtesy. Judging by her tone, she seemed to have accepted him into the family. Blake's background was indeed compatible with the Cortez family, and he looked like he would be successful in the future. Felisa believed that he would be a good addition to the family. Standing to the side, Becca's mother, Stella, was happy.
Well, you two go and have fun.
Felisa said, smiling at them. Then she glanced at Stella.
Your daughter is smart. Looks like she's going to be getting married in a few years.
Stella beamed with pride. Felisa was satisfied with Blake and was happy with Stella for having such a good daughter. Felisa slowly walked over to Alice, who immediately bowed her head slightly.
Look at her.
Stella thought.
She's just putting on an act.
Alice's daughter Elisa had been successful at everything she did, and Felisa had always placed her above Stella's children.
Where's Elisa?
Felisa asked Alice.
Why isn't she here yet? She's not avoiding me because I told her to find a boyfriend, is she?
Of course not.
Alice denied.
I just called her. She's on her way and should be here soon.
That's good.
Felisa said, nodding.
As her mother, you have to push her a little more. Becca has found a boyfriend, and it's time Elisa found one as well.
Alice respectfully replied.
Yes, of course.
Your grandmother seems to value your cousin more than you.
Blake said to Becca as he watched Felisa chatting with Alice.
Do you think I don't know that?
Becca asked, staring angrily at Alice.
Since we were young, Elisa could do no wrong, and she's always been the favorite grandchild. In the last 2 years, grandmother's been determined to find a husband for her. It's obvious that she means to pass control of the family to Elisa someday. How are the rest of us supposed to accept that?
Blake smiled confidently.
Don't worry about it.
He said.
You have me now, and you won't lose me to your cousin.
I know.
She said, squeezing his arm and smiling sweetly.
You're right, and nobody in the world is better than you. My cousin can't possibly do better this time.
Blake wrapped an arm around her shoulders, and his gaze held a trace of evil. Since he intended to be the favored son-in-law, he couldn't let Felisa hand control of the family over to someone else. A white BMW slowly approached.
Elisa is here,
Called a young man, taking advantage of her arrival to get a little attention. Everyone looked over to see Elisa drive to the left side of the gate and park her BMW. A few minutes later, Elisa stepped out of the car. She wore a short dress, which showed off her long legs, and her face was beautiful. Blake had seen a lot of pretty young girls, but Elisa was much prettier than any of them. Elisa greeted her relatives as she walked through the courtyard to reach her grandmother.
Grandmother, I'm sorry I'm late.
She said.
It doesn't matter if you're late.
Felisa said, not angry at all. Elisa had always been her pride and joy.
Although for a moment there, I was worried that you were avoiding me, so I couldn't urge you to find a boyfriend.
Oh, grandmother, I wouldn't do that.
Elisa said with a faint smile.
Hello, Mrs. Cortez.
Remelin said.
Elisa invited me. I hope that's okay.
She and Elisa had been classmates since kindergarten, and they were very close, so Elisa often brought her to family gatherings. Felisa spoke to Remelin for a while, and then she noticed a young man standing behind Elisa. Everyone was staring at him, sizing him up and trying to guess his identity.
This boy was dressed very plainly, like a poor country boy. Why had Elisa brought him to the party? He wasn't her boyfriend, they were clearly from two different worlds.
Elisa, who is this?
Felisa asked.
Oh,
Elisa said, moving to stand next to Jeff. She wanted to introduce him as a friend, but Remelin spoke first.
This is Jeff.
Remelin explained.
He's just a poor student at Peston University. He normally lives quite frugally and rarely eats in restaurants. Elisa said she wanted to bring him here to let him see what he's been missing.
She was afraid Elisa would tell Felisa that Jeff was her boyfriend.
So that's how it is.
Felisa nodded approvingly. Everyone nodded in understanding as they whispered to each other.
Just by looking at his clothes, you can tell that he's poor.
Someone said.
It'll be a good experience for him to see our family gathering.
Alyssa's too kind.
Someone else said.
She's already doing a good deed eating him at school. Bringing him to a family gathering is going a bit too far. Maybe we should give him some money and send him to have a good meal in a restaurant.
I hope he works hard and gets a good job after graduating. Too many people in society get financial aid and just squander it. I hope he isn't like that,
said a third person. Elisa was unhappy that Remelin had made Jeff look inferior. She glanced at Jeff and was starting to see that he didn't show any signs of anger at a relative's pity. Instead, he appeared very calm and collected. Her heart skipped a beat. She turned to Felisa and said,
grandmother, don't listen to Remelin. Jeff isn't just a poor student. He's actually my boyfriend.
She had finally said it. She didn't dare to look at Jeff, afraid that he would be angry with her. What if he denied it and exposed her as a liar? Jeff was surprised by Alyssa's announcement. A wry smile appeared on his face. He should have guessed this would happen when he agreed to come to the party, but he simply hadn't thought it through. Felisa was stunned, as was everyone else.
Elisa, you're telling me that he's your boyfriend?
She asked with a serious expression. Anger blazed from her eyes. Whatever the truth was, Elisa would be able to see her disapproval and would take back her words.
Yes.
Elisa confirmed. Although she was afraid, she refused to back down. She was every bit as stubborn as her grandmother. She smiled, trying to ease the tension.
Let me introduce you.
There's no need,
Felisa said. She didn't even glance at Jeff. As far as she was concerned, the thought of Elisa being with this boy was a joke.
Elisa, you're not to see him again. The family gathering is about to start, so send him home.
Felisa turned around to leave. She had made her decision, and her word was final.
But grandmother, I really like him.
Elisa said. Felisa abruptly turned back. Elisa was blatantly disobeying her words, which was something that no one in the family dared to do. If it had been anyone else, she would have been furious, but Elisa was her favorite grandchild.
Elisa, you know perfectly well why I don't approve of him,
she said, controlling her anger.
And I refuse to repeat myself, so let him go.
Your grandmother's doing this for your own good.
Alice said, coming to stand next to Elisa.
Listen to her. If it makes you feel better, then we can help him find a job after he graduates. But you have to let him go. I'm sorry, grandmother.
Elisa said, refusing to listen.
I can't.
What?
Felisa said, glaring at her. It had been years since she had been this angry. When she realized how determined Elisa looked, she was at a loss for words.
Deal with your daughter,
Felisa said angrily as she looked at Alice.